Nolvia Delgado, today's guest, is the executive director of the Kaplan Educational Foundation. Just over a decade ago, she was a recipient of the foundation's grant, enabling her to attend the elite Smith College. Now she's been tapped to head the very organization that launched her career. She'll also share insights about her superpower. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show. Nolvia, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
I just can't get over what a big deal you are at such a young age. And I know I shouldn't feel that way, but I'm a middle-aged white guy and I am impressed. And forgive me, but I think you're early 30s, if that, and you're now running the Kaplan Education Foundation, and that's a big deal.
It is. It really is. The Kaplan Educational Foundation has always been a second home to me. So it feels great to be in this new role, leading the foundation, especially as the world reopens, right? Hopefully, we continue to make progress. And I'm super excited.
Yeah. I think one of the things that strikes me as sort of poetic about your promotion to this or getting this new job is that you received some support from the Kaplan Education Foundation when you went to college. Am I getting that right?
You did. You got that. You got that correct. So I actually am a Kaplan Leadership Program alum. I was part of their third cohort. So very early on, many moons ago. So the Kaplan Leadership Program changed my life and gave me the opportunity to transfer to Smith College.
Wow. Wow. Tell us about that. What was that experience like? Take us back to the experience of a Kaplan beneficiary or a Kaplan recipient. What was that whole process like?
It was an intense process. I think back to the application process, it was almost like applying for college. You had to interview, you had to submit an application, there were essays, there were short responses. So it was a very intense process, but rightfully so. I think the Kaplan Educational Foundation does a phenomenal job at supporting underrepresented students, community college students, and preparing us for transfer. What that means is not only transfer advisement, but also leadership training, career development, email etiquette, all the things that we're not taught at school that we need in order to be successful and to thrive when we transfer. The Kaplan Educational Foundation covers all of it.
Wow. And so obviously you had a successful experience at Smith, right? You graduated. Tell us a little bit about your career since that time, including your Smith experience.
So attending Smith was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I remember I was actually deciding between Smith and Vassar, and it was a Kaplan Educational Foundation who really gave me the insight to identify what were the things that I needed in a college as a person, as a student. And I'm so glad that they sat with me and had a lot of conversations because I was leaning towards Vassar for a little while. But in hindsight, Smith was just a perfect place for me. I think the sisterhood, going to an all women's college. I am a very active Smithy, very proud Smithy. So I am glad that I had the foundation to guide me through that process. And after Smith, I actually went to work for the foundation. I was the first scholar that they hired full time. So that was exciting to go behind the scenes and see everything, how recruitment works, understanding the relationships with the community colleges, with the four-year schools. And after that, I worked for a community-based organization in Brooklyn. For the majority of the time, I worked on the Community Schools Initiative, which transforms schools into hubs of resources for students and their families. so ensuring that students graduate. I worked for a bit in London. I oversaw social impact work for Kaplan International. And most recently, before joining the foundation, I worked for a corporate law firm overseeing US educational pipeline programs. So I think for me, I've had a lot of experience working in education in different capacities. But education transformed my life, and any opportunity I have to create pathways to education for students, it's just the right fit for me.
Yeah, let's take a minute and talk a little bit about the mission of the Kaplan Education Foundation. Um, as important, as big a deal as it is, and as vast as the work it is, not everybody knows. So tell us a little bit about the work and mission of the Kaplan Education Foundation.
Sure. So the mission of the Kaplan Educational Foundation is to identify high achieving, underrepresented community college students and help them transfer to selective 4-year institutions. And the work doesn't stop when the scholar transfers to a 4-year institution. It's then making sure that they graduate. That's part of it, especially for underrepresented students. There's a lot of barriers that we face once we transfer. So the foundation guides students through the transfer process, through the completion of the bachelor's degree, and then also navigating career choices after completion of the bachelor's.
Let's talk about some of that support. Let's get a little bit granular because finishing at an elite school is really tough.
Mhm.
Not only the academics are the easy part, but that can be difficult for anybody. But uh, there are social challenges and financial challenges. Trying, if you're at Columbia or Harvard in expensive cities or Berkeley, tell us a little bit about what Kaplan does to help students through all those challenges.
Yeah, so what Kaplan has done is really identify schools that are transfer friendly and schools that are able to support transfer students with funding. So most of our students graduate with little to no loans. And that's incredible, right? Being able to graduate with no loans or very, very little loans. In addition to ensuring that we're applying to schools that will provide um, financial aid packages. The foundation also has emergency funding available. So if scholars are in a predicament where they need um, a laptop or they need to attend a conference or they need something for school, the foundation does have the financial resources to support a scholar at the 4-year institution as well.
That's important. And so, what is the success rate of the transfer students that Kaplan supports?
So over 84% of the students who transfer graduate from their institutions, their 4-year
That's
institutions.
great. That's great. And it seems to me that the Kaplan has kind of an explicit focus on helping underrepresented groups access this kind of experience. Is that right?
That is correct. And the reason for that is because, when you look at enrollment rates are the lowest for um, Black students, Latinx students, and Native American students. That's just the population with the highest need.
Yeah, yeah. It is such important work. Education is a powerful equalizer, and I think don't you think that you're an example of that?
I am. I definitely am an example of that. And I remember growing up, my mom would always say, and she completed some high school. She didn't graduate from high school. This was back home in the Dominican Republic. And she would always say, education will open doors. Education is the way out. And I understood it, and that's why I worked so hard. But I could have never imagined where an education would take me, and that it would open so many doors, literally, for me. So I think it's also a testament to my mom and her instilling those values in me early on. And it's, a dream come true for both of us.
Yeah. Uh, Obviously, your evidence that the people who are underrepresented have great families, great mothers, right, who instill in them great values. You have all of the intrinsic human worth of anyone else, including the intellectual and other, horsepower to succeed. Um, and yet, it's clear too that our systems aren't totally level. It's not a level playing field. Otherwise, there wouldn't be underrepresented people, right?
Yeah.
And so Kaplan is in this business of helping to level that playing field a little bit. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, that's definitely how I see it. I think there's still so much work to be done, and part of our mission is to ensure that our scholars, once they graduate, that they're taking leadership positions in their respective fields, and that they're able to work on improving outcomes for all of us, right? So we make it a point, to expose students to different leadership opportunities and ensure that they have the tools, to be agents of change, because that's the
Yeah,
only way we're going to make progress, right? If across the different sectors, if we're all working together and making things better for everyone.
yeah. That is so important, so important. Well, what else would you like us to know about the Kaplan Educational Foundation?
I think it's the Kaplan Educational Foundation, but also community college students. I think there are so many bright, talented community college students that just need an opportunity, that are often overlooked. If you look at a lot of the leadership pipelines for college students, they don't include recruitment at community colleges, although community college is freshman and sophomore year. So I just think, if you meet a community college student, give them an opportunity, because we're hardworking, we're smart, we're dedicated, and we're attending college, right? We're attending freshman and sophomore year in college. So I really hope that the Kaplan Educational Foundation is able to change that narrative and really encourage people to see community college students as freshmen and sophomore students who should have the same opportunities as some students at four-year institutions.
Yeah, great point. Great point. You really are impressive, having accomplished all that you've done, all the work you've done in and out of the foundation. Really impressive, especially for someone so young. What is your superpower?
My superpower is creating opportunities for underrepresented community college students to thrive, transfer, and hold leadership positions.
Give us an example of how you personally are engaged in that work.
Yeah, so I think for me, one of the things I started doing, and I've only been on the job for a month now, is that I started connecting with community-based organizations, because they have access to students and communities in a way that our community college champions don't. So one of the ways that I'm doing that is by engaging with the folks that are on the ground in the communities, and providing an opportunity for students who would fall between the gap, for them to know about the Kaplan Leadership Program, and for them to be part of our program, hopefully.
Obviously, this is life changing for people like you who are beneficiaries of the program, but tell us how people outside the program can encourage and sort of emulate you in helping students get into the program and benefit from it. And think about too how we can help students that may be interested but don't qualify.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. students sometimes just need information. So if you hear about us and there's a student that share the information, retweet what we're posting. We share a lot of advice on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So definitely just share the information, because you don't know who it's going to reach. In terms of the information that we published a transfer guide, and we identify transfer friendly schools. And each school has its own profile. We also have a section for veterans, for non-traditional students, for DACA and undocumented students. So we've really put all of our expertise into a book that's easily accessible for anyone. So even if you're not in New York City, New Jersey, there are resources out there that you can use to support community college students with transfer.
Yeah. If you reflect on your career and your life, what do you see as the personal strength that has most enabled you to be successful?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think for me, throughout my life, there's always been this desire to help others. And I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't know how. Um, and ultimately, what it is this desire to help others and create opportunities for other people to advance. Um, and I think that comes from my family. I come from a family of women who are all giving back to their communities in different ways. So I think, yeah, I think it's the desire to help others that was instilled in me by the women in my family.
Yeah, how I want you to think back to your career and think about a time when you really applied that strength to a specific circumstance where there was a good outcome because you leaned into that desire to help other people in a job that you had.
Um, there's so many. Well, I think one example is when I was working at the Community Schools Initiative in Brooklyn. There was a lifeguarding program, and the lifeguarding program would train students to be certified lifeguards. They would get a job, um, and it was every Saturday. Um, but I knew that program would keep students off the streets. It would provide them with an opportunity to have a certification, to obtain a certification, to have money in their pocket, and my desire to help others. I think helped so many students stay off the streets, and I know that for some of them it changed their life. And what that meant was pushing to make sure that we had the program on the campus, that it was available, that I was there every Saturday, um, to make sure that the program was running smoothly. And the outcome is that a lot of students were kept off the streets and now are working full time as lifeguards. So it was a life changing opportunity for students.
Yeah, people much smarter than I have done research that suggests that there really is a little part of the brain that sort of triggers altruism, that desire to help other people. So we all kind of have that native instinct, but I think we use it at different levels. Some people like you really, bulk up that muscle and it's a driving force in their lives.
Mm.
Others let it atrophy and wither. How would you encourage people to cultivate, to strengthen that ability?
Honestly, it's doing everything in an arm's reach. I think is if there's something that you can easily do, if there's an introduction you can make, if there's somebody's resume you can review, whatever it is that you have the capacity to do, then do that. I think, sometimes people get consumed with the idea that they have to go out and just change the world. And sometimes that can be daunting, but just do whatever's in an arm's reach, whatever expertise you have, share it. And you'll be surprised at the impact that you have just by doing things that might seem small to you, but for someone, it could be life changing.
Yeah. Well, that is, I think a profound insight, because we need more people to be like you, thinking about how they can help other people. And so doing that, what's within arm's reach every day is a really good way to, I think, like you say, build that muscle. So, Nolvia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Before we let you go, would you do us a favor and just tell people how they can learn more about the foundation, especially make sure that people know how they can apply, when they can apply to be part of the program, so that anyone who is interested in sharing that information can. And then finally, if you'd share some information about how people can connect with you personally. I'm sure some people will want to follow you on social media and stuff. So I know it's a lot, final assignment, but please share.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure talking to you about my experience in the foundation. But so people can go to our website, kaplanedfoundation.org. All of the information is on there. They can also follow us on Twitter, Kaplan Ed Foundation. We're very active on Twitter. And then also I'm on LinkedIn. There aren't many Nolvias. So Nolvia Delgado, they'll be able to find me on LinkedIn.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Nolvia, again, thank you very much for being with us today. Congratulations on your new job. We're thrilled for you and wish you every success in continuing the great work of the foundation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you.
All righty. Let's do some good. Thank you for tuning in to the Superpowers for Good show. Twice each week, we host changemakers who share their impact, insights, and superpowers. Don't miss another episode. Subscribe today at superpowersforgood.com. That's superpowers, 4, good.com. Be super empowered. Get your copy of the book, Superpowers for Good, as an ebook, audiobook, paperback, or hardcover edition via your favorite online retailer. Interested in having me speak to your company, organization, or association? Visit devinthorpe.com. Then let's talk. Now, keep using your superpowers for good. Together, we can reverse climate change, improve global health, and eradicate poverty.